To introduce myself, I've had this. Oh, thanks, Amber. I appreciate that for the recording part of it. I've had the most amazing opportunity to chat with many of you prior around the Everyday Entrepreneur Program and some of the NACCE initiatives that we have beforehand. And so that's always fun. I love seeing faces and seeing the names again. And I'm super excited if you get a chance to come out to the conference that we have in October to meet you in person. That would be amazing. For those individuals who I've yet to have the chance to kind of have that conversation with, I am Andrew Zines. I am the project manager for NACCE, involved in the Everyday Entrepreneur Program, along with Community Navigator and many, many more. I have my hands in so many cookie jars, including this amazing pilot program that Brian Perret, who is the program director for Codeboxx, and the immensely talented Codeboxx team have been working on behind the scenes, leading up to kind of the initial pilot, kind of a soft gauge, if you will, to share with the NACCE community colleges around this program. So we're super excited to share this opportunity, discuss the pilot with everybody here. This partnership with Codeboxx has been absolutely phenomenal so far. There's a ton of information. So what I'll do is I'll let the one and only Brian Perret talk a little bit more so about the Codeboxx side and the overview of the program. And at the end, we'll have a nice little Q&A session for everybody. So we appreciate your time. Brian, floor is yours.
Andrew, thank you very much for such a professional introduction. I feel you teed me up well. I love the passion that you bring. It's a great way to start this off. Let me start by sharing my screen and we'll get right into it. Marvelous. Let's talk about the Codeboxx Cadet program, the reason why I'm here. Welcome again. My name is Brian Perret. I am the program director here at Codeboxx. I'll talk a little bit soon about what Codeboxx is, but just for you guys to expect what we're going to have coming up for you here today. First, we're going to talk about who I am, why we are here, define the scope of the issues that we're looking at, what's the actual program that I'm going to talk to you guys about today, how do we implement this program, and then where do we go from here. If you guys have any questions, I will ask you to please hold them to the end. And if you're worried about not remembering them, you can jot them down or put them in the message channel and Andrew will graciously keep an eye out for them. Who am I? My name is Brian Perret. I am many things, like many people here. My first calling was as an academic at the University of Wisconsin, where I got my master's degree in biomedical engineering and made some interesting breakthroughs in tissue engineering and was able to lead my own research. I had my own team. This is where I first got my introduction into what it is to teach people, to lead people. Also, it's where I first established my high level of excellence, which I hold in all aspects of things that I do. I'm also a dog dad. Somewhere in there, I've also become a developer. So I've spent 10 years in my life as a developer working on real projects for real companies. Some of the projects I've worked on include Hang It, which is a mobile targeting app, Gifmo, which is a cool project where we actually open the gift card market in the Philippines, and WebTalk, a social media platform. In addition to that, I'm an educator and I'm also a musician. Like so many of the students that we're looking to aim to help here, technology was not my first career. And that's one thing I want to show here is how we are looking to get people into technology, and these people can come from anywhere. Let's talk a little bit about the need for tech workers that we have. There's an extremely high demand for tech workers, right? There's over 500,000 unfilled jobs in 2022. And the outlook going forward for the need for tech workers is also strong. There are going to be projected 2.2 million new jobs by 2025. I was doing some research on the Bureau of Labor Statistics looks at the percentage increase of the software development in the cybersecurity industry, and they project a 25% and a 35% growth in both of these industries compared to a 5% normal. So there's an extreme need for these jobs. That need is going to increase, and these jobs pay well. So the average rate for a developer is around $110,000, and these jobs are attainable. Most of these jobs don't include a degree requirement. And as a matter of fact, I was doing some research. Many of the largest companies, Google, Apple, IBM, don't require a 4-year degree. 59% of all employers are considering eliminating college degree requirements entirely for this. And so what we have here is we have jobs that are attainable, that are needed, and that pay well. Everybody, we have an opportunity here to affect a strong social change, to deliver real value to our students and help get them paid and help them change their family structures. So how are we currently doing that? What are some of the paths to tech that exist? There's two extreme models. You have the university model. That's the route that I went. It's 4 years, it's rigorous. It often stresses theory over practice. It's often outdated. The technologies update multiple times a year. Curriculums don't update that quickly, and methodologies often update even more slowly. What we found is that the university model is outdated, it's anachronistic, and it's an increasingly inefficient path towards tech. And it also oftentimes values privilege over potential, which is just the opposite of one of the core philosophies we have at CodeBoxx, where we value potential over privilege. On the other hand is the bootcamp model. And CodeBoxx started as a bootcamp, and we've evolved since then because we recognize some of the ways that the bootcamp model falls short. Oftentimes they focus on technologies over philosophies. You hear a lot about certification programs that will focus on a particular tech stack or a particular company. Well, technologies change, companies change. One thing that we know is that people in tech, they work in different projects and see different techs. That's why we focus on philosophy over technology. Also, boot camps are a sink or swim model. They give you the material and wish you the best. And if you pass, good. And if you don't, too bad for you. That's not a model that we find acceptable because that's not how we make the greatest impact on the most amount of people. And oftentimes, unfortunately, sometimes these boot camps can just be predatory. And I don't have to convince many of you. I'm sure people have heard about these boot camps and how they are overpriced and how they can be very predatory in collecting their money. So we have these two extremes. Neither one of them are really offering an opportunity to get a lot of people in these high-paying jobs. So there is an opportunity for us to come in and provide some real value. And that's what we think we've done with CodeBoxx as a solution. Let me tell a little bit about CodeBoxx. We are a company that exists as 3 entities. Our first entity is the solutions entity. CodeBoxx Solutions is a full, complete, in-house, customized app studio. We develop real-world applications and solutions for real-world clients, scaling all the way from enterprise to startup. It is the basis, it is the core of our company. It's where we have a lot of our technological skills. It's one of the things that we lean on. It's a revenue generator. It helps us with the connections with every other element of CodeBoxx. One of the things, and then now we also have the school, CodeBoxx Technology School, for which I am the program director. Now, the technology school is where we focus on developing the skills for the general public, for our corporate partners, and for nonprofits to help people enter careers in tech, and also to help workforces develop and enhance their skills in an increasingly technological environment and an environment where the skill sets are often changing and updating. So we have the solutions part, which is our studio, which is really revenue generating. Our school, which is where we teach people, and the school and solutions, they feed off each other. Many people from our school go to work for our solutions. Many people from solutions help guide our school. And parallel to all of that is our ventures. CodeBoxx, we exist with the mission to provide positive social impact, and our CodeBoxx Ventures is the institution that allows us to do that. That's where a lot of our nonprofit management goes in. That's where we have grant making opportunities. And that's where a lot of the funding that we get is funneled through there that enables us to affect some of the populations who wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to get in tech. And so between the solutions, the school, and CodeBoxx Ventures, we have a whole ecosystem through which we are serving our community and advancing technology. Let's talk a little bit about our curriculum, right? Like what makes us different, this program that I've designed. I first started at CodeBoxx as a coach, And as time went on, I was given the mandate to reorganize our program and to evaluate it. And the first thing I did when I evaluated the program is I was like, okay, what do we want? We want the people who come through our program to be strong candidates for employment and to succeed once they are on the job. So in order for me to meet that definition, to understand what that definition is, I went to the hiring managers. I went to the vice presidents of engineering. I went to the senior devs, and I spoke to them about what made people successful in tech. I did this with a very naive mindset, thinking I was going to hear technological terms. You know, what's going to be the hottest computer language? What's the next tech stack? And what I heard was quite revelatory. Time and time again, the hiring managers, the senior devs, they told me that the things that make people successful in technology often have very little to do with technology. Can you communicate? Do you have the grit to see a hard task and get through it? Are you able to be vulnerable with yourself and where you fall short? And can you communicate that vulnerability? So what we've learned here at CodeBoxx is that oftentimes it's the philosophies over the technologies, getting to my third point, right? It's these ideas of what are the best practices that make somebody valuable, that somebody needs to learn and apply in order to do well in the technical landscape. And we teach these through project-based real-world simulations. That's one thing that separates us also from the university model. You come in to our programs, every one of our programs is based on a business simulation where the student takes on the role of either a developer or a web designer or whatever the case may be. And through a series of incremental exercises, they gain, develop, and perfect the skills that are required, the technical skills. And through that, they also gain the philosophies. So our delivery is very student focused, and it's an active learning model. The students play a very, they have agency in the work. They're able to drive the price, or not the price, the pace, excuse me. They're able to drive the pace. They're able to interact with students and students in the collaborative model and coaches also. And we found that this entire ecosystem, giving the students the agency and the resources and the encouragement and the support, this is what drives positive outcomes for them, for us. I spoke about the personal skills and the business acumen. In order to make that more institutional and make that more intentional, we have created a professional development framework with industry professionals, with mental health professionals, and that is built on resiliency, leadership, and communication. And each of these aspects is woven throughout the curriculum to make sure that people are growing not only as technologists, but also as people. Happy to say we've had some awesome success stories at this. Gabby, the lady I have up here, is a friend of mine. You know, she's somebody that I met and I was talking to. She's a tea tender at a local bar. And I talked to her when I got the job and when I became program director, and she's thought this might be something she would want to try. She had never had any experience in technology. I believe she went to school for physical training. She didn't graduate. She didn't really like where she was going in her job. She didn't feel like she was making enough money. She didn't see a future. And she felt like she had a really creative side that wasn't being tapped. So I told her about the program. She came in, she took the program, and she worked hard. She came in early, she stayed late, she asked all the questions, she did everything the right way. And right after graduating, she got hired. Not even right after graduating. As part of our program, we prepare students for life after graduation, and part of that includes resume workshops. It also includes mock interview sessions. Those mock interview sessions we hold with some of our corporate partners. Well, Gabby did so well with one of our corporate partners. The corporate partner said, we know this is a mock interview, but can we hire this person? And so that's how Gabby got the job. She had zero time. She actually got a job before she graduated. But Gabby's just one of the many different stories that we've had here at CodeBoxx. We've got Tim. Tim was a welder. He worked here in Tampa, and he was a welder, and he didn't like the long hours. He didn't like the dangerous work. So he came in, he actually did the online course, And he showed the resilience and the resourcefulness to the point where he actually came on to CodeBoxx as a coach. Ash is another one. She was an English teacher. Miles was a golf pro. Miles now runs our recruiting for CodeBoxx. And one reason I have him in here is because he really shows how once you come through this program, you're not pigeonholed into a cubicle in just coding somewhere. Tech is huge. Tech includes salespeople. Tech includes project managers. It includes all sorts of people that I had a preconceived notion that wouldn't do well in tech. Tech is for everybody. And Gabby, Tim, Ash, and Miles are just a couple examples of some of the cool success stories that we've had. All right, let's talk about the CodeBoxx Cadet Program, the program that we're all here to talk about. The goals of this program are to inform, inspire, to engage, and to upskill. To inform, we want to show our students the paths that exist for them in tech and the pathways for how they can get there, right? We have students, each and every one of us, who there's a career for them in tech. There's an employer that could use them. And what I want to do, what I'm passionate about, is the catalyst of making that connection. But the first step is to show somebody that. Nothing that was created was not first imagined. The second is to inspire. One of the coolest parts of my job description is I'm supposed to create momentum in others where it did not yet exist. You know, as educators, we facilitate that. We bring the energy and help inspire them to get down that route, because frankly, it's not easy. Technology is always changing. There's often not one right answer. And so there needs to be somebody there along to help them. So one of the goals here is to help inspire. And we do that through engagement. Increasingly, tech is a community effort at the industry level, at the community level, at the society level. Rare is the individual who sits by themselves and does a whole application from beginning to end that delivers real value. Modern products are complicated and are delivered in teams. And that's we do through engagement. And then finally, to upskill. We want the students to come through this program to have more tangible skills than when they walked in before. And each of these programs, no matter how we deliver it, it leverages some of the technologies that I have listed here, ChatGPT, using the more modern AI tools, and that's one that I've shown you here. Also using Scratch, which is an effort from MIT to help develop programming skills in students. And Wix, a common site hosting engine, which we use as a platform to help show people some of the fundamentals of web development and web design. So those are some of the goals of the project. And as I design this project, I design it with keeping it accessible in mind. You know, it's meant to serve as diverse as populations as possible and have minimal technical literacy. You know, I assume the assumptions that I walk in on is that we all have a device and that we use these devices, that we know what websites are and that they exist and how to navigate them. That's the baseline. That's the entry point. You know, every program that we design starts there and gets them to a place where they have some real world skills. And to get them there, we have two basic tracks that we're developing and look forward to developing more of the prototypes with you guys. And that's the entrepreneur track and the workforce development track. So right now, what I want to do is I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the entrepreneur track, spend a little bit of time talking about the workforce track, and then talk about how we can implement these programs. The entrepreneur track. We recognize that tech is everywhere. There is no industry that's separate from tech. It's becoming an increasingly important aspect of everybody's business. What was I saying the other day? There are two kinds of businesses. There are tech businesses and there are failing businesses. And so knowing this, it is important that our students have the ability to converse in tech and to use tech and leverage it in their own ways. And that's what the entrepreneur track is designed for. And so this is for anybody pursuing entrepreneurship. Some of the things that they'll get from this is they'll get experience in web design. They'll get experience leveraging modern AI tools. And so from this, they're not actually just going to get experience with web design. They're going to leave with the actual website that's personalized to either them or to their business that they can share with others. They're going to develop this website and learn ways to use AI in tech, but also in their business. You know, AI has a whole standard of best practices in order to leverage the best uses of it. In fact, there are whole new fields called prompt engineering that are entirely focused on people just interacting with these tools. And we're going to give people the introduction to that so they can use some of these tools. In addition to that, some of that codeless programming and knowledge of the best practices. And this is because we recognize that even entrepreneurs who don't go into tech and don't write code still need to be versant in it. They need to have conversations in it. We need to, be able to be part of the culture. Man, this is one of the coolest parts about my job and my journey, is just learning and seeing all the people. I met this individual. He's a CEO of a $12 million tech company, never written a line of code in his life, right? This program is for people like him, who have the business sense, who have a great product that would do well in tech, but maybe don't quite necessarily have the lingo, the understanding, know the culture, how to interact with the network, how to ask for questions, how to find questions, right? These are all the things that entrepreneur track is going to give that person some value, some skills that they can take away and succeed beyond that course. Now let's talk about the workforce track. The workforce track includes everything in the entrepreneur track plus some. Not quite. When I say everything, it's all the same exercises, but they're geared more towards people that are going to go down into tech, right? This workforce track is designed specifically for people who think they want to go into the technology industry, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a hard coder, but they're going to interact with coders. They're going to be on teams with coders. So this so you get all that business stuff from the front end, the web design, the leveraging the AI tools, the learning the best practices, learning logic and codeless programming. But then they also go into actual coded programming, go into web development, what it takes to create a website and maintain a website. And this is getting into the most used technologies for creating websites, your HTML languages and JavaScript for managing much of the functionalities for those websites. The workforce development track is going to take about twice as long in course hours. So if the entrepreneur track is around 60 to 80 hours, the workforce track is going to be between 100 to 120 hours of instruction. And that's going to set them up well to go on for a career as a full stack developer, as a coder, or as a project manager. So those are those two separate tracks that we're looking to develop and work on with you guys. And we're super excited to talk to you guys about. Let's talk a little bit about some of the implementation and how we do this. Now, this is very much in the stages where we're talking about how we want to implement this. But one thing that we do know is a dual support structure involved in this. These programs are going to be supported both by NACCE at administrative level and by Codeboxx at a deployment and at a week-to-week level. We're going to help design the courses specific for your environment. We're going to help either supply coaches or have a train for trainer model to make sure that the people who are actually teaching and leading this course are on the same page. There are also some really cool innovative funding opportunities that we have and then we can talk about where we can actually help offset some of the financial costs that it would take to implement and to run this program. There's also a cool opportunity here for continued development. This is a prototype. This is a program that is working for us here in beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida, but everybody's coming from a different area and populations are different. And so this is a program we want to develop for urban areas, suburban areas, rural areas. We want to tap into vet communities. We want to continue to develop this program so it gives value to all different kinds of populations. And with that in mind, the potential scalability is something that we really love too. The ability to take this from 4 to 5 campuses into 30 campuses and beyond is something that's going to be, we look forward to working on with you guys in the near future. So what are some of the next steps? Where do we go from here? Andrew will be talking about an indication of interest form that he's going to be shared that we can all get filled out. There's 2 more webinars coming up after this, I believe, one in September and one October. And then we have the NACCE conference coming up. I look forward to engaging with all of you in each one of those. And with that, I will say thank you. You know, I got some of our cohorts here. It's good to see those guys. So, wow, yeah, I got it done in about 20-25 minutes. How's that?
Brian, that was fantastic. That gives a lot of insight around specifically the innovation that CodeBoxx offers and focusing on those two opportunities for entrepreneurship and workforce development that we've seen in the conversations with so many community colleges when it comes to trying to ensure that their students find success, not only during their collegiate time, but also after, and what that looks like. But additionally, there's a community impact here. You know, this also is something that can be utilized for both of those tracks to enhance scale and provide opportunity scope within the community of your colleges. And so, to Brian's point, we do have an indication of interest form that I'm going to put in the chat in a couple of minutes. I will kind of open the floor for everybody, see if there's any questions around the program. This is just something that we wanted to talk about and share an overview about. The plan next for us is for your college, champion, whoever would like to learn more, to submit an application via the indication of interest form. We'll set up some time with you. We'll have an informal discussion. We can give you additional details around the funding opportunity that's available, how this process is going to work for your colleges, when we'd like to roll these pilot programs out, and any kind of support that you need in order to find success in this program. That being said, though, this is a pilot and we are looking to only secure 4 colleges. We want to try this at a small level so that way we can learn, collect feedback from the colleges, find the success stories, spotlight those, but then find ways to manage and scale that across the board into 2025 and beyond. So with that being said, I will open it up to any questions. Feel free. I believe everybody should have the ability to either pop something in the chat or just to come off mute. Amber, if you wouldn't mind just checking to see if everybody has that functionality to ensure that's available. But yeah, please let us know the questions or anything you'd like to talk about when it comes to the CodeBoxx program. And in the meanwhile, I will put that link directly in the chat for the indication of interest application form.
It's Stuart. I have a question. Is CodeBoxx running in any colleges or community colleges at the moment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So how old is the company?
The company itself is 5 years old.
Okay.
Yep, we originated actually in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And about 2 years ago, we relocated our headquarters to St. Petersburg, Florida.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. So I do have the indication of interest form in the chat. And my hope is that everybody can see this. Please give me like a thumbs up or just let me know if you can see it in the chat. It's a very important form to be able to fill out if you're awesome. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. And Stuart, thank you for the question too as well. Given I think this is an awesome opportunity. It's not available in any community college. This in partnership and having discussions around trying to get this into community college and the successes that might come from that. As it is highly innovative and very scalable and helps both tracks in entrepreneurship and workforce development that many colleges are kind of focusing on to find success in. Fantastic. Thank you all so much for letting us know that you got the link. Manny, what is the cost for each track? I would say that's something internally that we have a pretty solid idea around right now. We are in the pilot implementation phase, and around the funding opportunities, what we'd love to do is for you to submit an application and we can have more of a discussion around what that looks like. From an hour perspective, I will tell you what Brian and I have worked on is the entrepreneur side is going to be far less time consuming, given that the track is dedicated for those individuals to develop entrepreneurial skill sets to utilize coding in innovative ways like Brian mentioned, whereas the workforce development side is going to take a sizable time longer. But the funding does include opportunities for either or. We want to make sure that this is inclusive and collaborative across both sides and can be used for either or based upon the college's need and the audiences that you have, the students that come through your colleges. But yeah, feel free to submit an application. We'd love to set up some time to chat with you about that. So that way we can give more information around the funding and kind of what that looks like for your potential school. Now, I will say this, though. I will say, too, when it comes to a cost perspective, because I think Brian alluded to it a little bit, and the cost perspective from the actual community colleges, we're trying to minimize that if completely mitigate that. Our goal here is to provide funding that encompasses everything needed to roll this out to your school and your students, with the goal being zero out-of-pocket costs from the community colleges. Really, all that's needed in the sense is a champion, like Brian mentioned, some coaches and train the trainer mentality pieces, and everything else is included. So that's also a conversation that we can have during an informal discussion after an application has been submitted. But we really believe that we know the struggle for funding opportunities within the college sphere. So we want to try to minimize that or completely remove that from the colleges. So Kelly, yes, you have a question.
I do. Thank you, Brian. That was great information. And Andrew, thank you and NACCE, thank you for organizing this. I'm very excited about the opportunity. I have a question about your student success. Is there a profile? We live in a very rural, economically distressed area of northeastern North Carolina, and we have generational poverty cycles that we're always trying to break out of. And we have limitations with obviously funding, but also with the broadband and the reliability internet, and our students sometimes are behind the game. I was very pleased to see that it did not require technology skills or, but what has been your student success profile? So we don't like to set our students up for failure, but we want to lift them and empower them through entrepreneurship. I work in the Small Business Center, but I've got several of my curriculum team on today's.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And it's something that is really important to me and us here at CodeBoxx. And it's really what kind of drove the move from a boot camp to this new thing that we've created, is that we recognize that when you have this boot camp model where it's kind of like, here is it, and if you can't make it for whatever reason, you're not going to make it. Well, that cuts out the people who may not have broadband access and lose pace for a while. It cuts out those who haven't had access to technologies. It cuts out those who don't have people in their network who are strong technologists. And these are frankly the places where I see as a society the greatest value, the greatest opportunity for growth. And so that's why, the ideal student profile that I have is somebody who, has access to internet at times. It doesn't necessarily require them to be at a particular place at a particular time. So if they have sporadic internet access, all they would need is access to a place where they could have internet access. And then from then, I try to start at the most general common denominator. They're geared for people who, may not have had any kind of technological experience in the past. We've had experience dealing with, we have a student who's, coming home from incarceration. We have another student who spent 20 years outside the workforce raising her children. Her and her son came in. And so, yeah, we try to keep it as general and as wide and as broad as possible. And the population that you're talking about, the rural population, that's a population where we're really excited about engaging and learning more about.
Thank you, Brian and Andrew.
Kelly, thank you. So Lisa, you have a question around when does the interest form need to be completed by? We'd love to have that form completed by the colleges. If you're interested in this program, I would say within 2 or 3 weeks. That gives us a really good gauge, as Brian and I have discussed, around setting up time to meet with these colleges, because we understand that, having a conversation around rolling this out to the college as a pilot format may require additional conversations or potential leadership engagement as well to incorporate. And so I think the sooner the better. Brian and I discussed about setting up these conversations and meeting with colleges in mid to end of September. So if the form is completed within the next 2 to 3 weeks, that's aligned with that. And we'd love to get the conversation rolling. The next webinars too as well, in case you'd like to share it. Maybe there's other individuals in your community sphere that you'd like to showcase this opportunity to learn more about this, is going to be at the end of September. I believe right now it's the last week of September. We have yet to put that information on the NACCE website, but the goal that we chatted through is probably, let me see, look at the calendar real quick. Probably September 27th or 28th, which is a Wednesday and Thursday. One of those days. We'll also include that information in our newsletter for members, along with, letting everybody know that attended today, just in case you'd like more information or want more Brian, not so much me, but Brian in your life. You're more than welcome to come back for that
I
too
get
as
better
well.
every time. I guarantee the next one will be 3% better. Or your money back.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'd love to see if there's any additional questions. Feel free, more than welcome to send something to me via email if you have a question after the fact, if this webinar ends, or just want additional information. We can always set up some time too. But again, that application is kind of the conduit to begin the conversation, just to share some more insight around what this program offers, some of the funding, and then, of course, what it looks like and next steps to roll this out to your community college.
And if you're curious and want to learn more about CodeBoxx, you can go to codeboxx.com. We just upgraded our website, all new branding.
Fantastic. I think we'll give it another minute just in case there's any additional questions. And then from there, I think we'll be set. And we appreciate everybody's joining today. This has been a wonderful session. Brian, thank you so much for sharing a wealth of information around CodeBoxx, the pilot program, the impacts it has. And I really am super excited to share this with all the NACCE members and to find some innovative spheres where we can really, really help our students, both in entrepreneurship and workforce development moving forward.
Indeed.
So
Indeed. This is a true collaborative effort. I think all of us working together, we can do some real good. I believe that.
I agree. Well, fantastic. I think we're set. I don't see any additional questions. So feel free, like I said, don't be shy. If you have any questions, submit the application form. We'll have a conversation, or you can always shoot me an email too as well and get the ball rolling there. Again, thank you all for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday and a wonderful weekend too as well. Thank you for joining.